All right, so looks like we are live. Hope everyone's doing well today. This has been a weird week for me, so I'm just kind of like going through it here. But yeah, we're gonna do some album art design today. So it's going to involve Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, and also Adobe fonts. And we're gonna pull it all together using this this template. It's a template that I got off of Discmakers, who is a producer of compact discs, so optical discs, and they've got a variety of different templates that you can grab from their website. This is for both the front and back cover of a jewel case booklet, right? So basically what we're going to do is create a bit of album art to put in here, and then we're going to have some decorative stuff for the back cover too. And we're going to pull in from, like I said, Illustrator and Photoshop to do this. So let me know in the chat how you're all doing. I hope well. All right. So, yeah, I mean, the first thing, and this is, by the way, this is going to be for an imaginary artist, right? An imaginary band. So it's just, I've prepped some ideas around the names and things like that. So we'll see what happens when we go through and start, creating the band name inside of Illustrator to see how it all lays out. But anyway, so we don't really have anything to start with in InDesign, right? Because we're going to start either in Illustrator or Photoshop. And actually, I think, well, let's have a look here. Here's Photoshop. And I've already got this. So this is a 3000 by 3000 300 ppi image here. You can see it's a complete square, 3000 by 3000. If you're ever designing album covers, I would definitely suggest doing it at 3000 by 3000. And of course, if you're printing them, 300 ppi. But we are going to do that here, and I've got some stock photography from Adobe Stock. So I've got this image here that I thought would be good, and then we've also got this right here, which is a texture. So I'm gonna do some stuff with texture as well. We're gonna kind of come up with the cover itself here. So first off, let's zoom out a bit and pull both of these in. So I'm gonna just grab that layer, bring it into here, and just do some rough positioning. And you can see this image, even though it's from Adobe Stock and it's pretty large, it's still not big enough to cover the entire thing that we have here. So, but we'll deal with that later. This one too, let's bring that in. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. This one isn't as important because it's just going to be, use as a texture, as I said. So now we've got that stuff kind of set up inside of Photoshop here. But what I want to do is pop into Illustrator first. Actually, let's turn that off and do a Command or Control T here to do some transform on our image. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so, man, it looks like I don't know what is up with my connection lately. It used to be so good, so consistently good, and now I just get warnings and things like that all the time from Behance. It's really, really bizarre. Anyway, yeah. It's very strange. Okay. I wonder if I should just reset my router here, if that's the problem. Maybe I'll turn on my Wi-Fi. See if that might help things. I don't know. Usually I keep my Wi-Fi off, and I've got this plugged in as a, just a hard Ethernet cable connection here, but I don't know. We'll see. It could be any number of things, right? Could be a bad cable. Could be something with my router. I'll try a few different things. The problem is, of course, I don't know, because it's intermittent, Like, it's fine right now, and I don't really know, what triggers it. So it's not something I can easily replicate. It seems to be something that that only happens when I do these streams. So I have to be doing one of these streams in order to do it. Anyhow, let's jump over to Adobe Illustrator. And inside of Illustrator, I've just got just a basic document here. Since it's going to be vector, it doesn't really matter how big it is, right? So also, if we pop over to Creative Cloud, I already located 2 fonts that I want to use for this piece. They're both from Adobe Fonts. There's Ethnocentric, which I'm going to use for the actual artist name. And there's this one called Professor, which I'm going to use for the album title. So I got to remember those 2. And I'm going to grab my type tool here. And let's just click. And what did I refer back to my notes here? So I was going to call this band, artist, whatever, Found Things. And hopefully there's not anything like that out there. But yeah, there we go. So actually, let's turn off that for now. So usually I don't like a bright thing just shining at me like that, like a sheer whiteness. But so I usually make something dark so that it's not blinding me as I'm doing this. But for this, I think it might make sense to actually do it just on white, keep it black. Hello, Ahmed. How are you today? Hope well. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and apply that typeface. I'm going to filter by Adobe Fonts, and this began with an E. What was it called? Ethnocentric or something? Yeah, here it is. So Ethnocentric Regular. So there we go. We've got the basics of this thing here. Let's make it a little bigger, actually. Let's make it a lot bigger. Go in here and just pop that up. I always found it strange that you've got 72 is usually the top, the maximum that you can select from a drop down like that when you're doing fonts, switching their properties and so forth. But and for anybody who was here last week during my stream, if you recall, I was actually trying to stream to YouTube and Behance, of course, and LinkedIn Live all at the same time, and that didn't go all that well. So hopefully this week is going to be a lot smoother. All right, so now we've got the basics of this, but I want to, of course, change things up a little bit. I want to stylize this a bit. So to do that, what we can do is, notice I've got my text selected. We've got the ability to create outlines here. In creating outlines, we click that. What happens? Well, it creates a group, and then we've got outlines for each individual little shape. So each individual character becomes its own shape here in the in our layers panel. So very cool, very useful. And what I can do here too is I can ungroup everything, and we could always release as well. It's going to release these compound paths into basic shapes. But notice when we do that, we get some like weird things happening with this sort of thing. So I'm not quite sure I want to do that, but yeah. So we'd have to make that, do some Pathfinder with that or something. So let's undo. It's fine to have them be compound paths for what I want to do with it. Because what I want to do with it is basically just make some different arrangements like this. Just kind of line that up. And just kind of play with it. You know, I like to take letter forms and to make them intersect in some ways with one another. So I'm thinking here, let's do some stuff playing with spacing and things like that as well. So I'm just having fun playing with the different letter forms, trying to create some more interesting shapes from this initial typeface here, right? So I'm just selecting the different anchor points and just shifting them wherever it makes sense. I'm going to move that and then just connect the S with the G. All right, so it's a little, I'm not sure if it's completely readable, but it's okay. And for what we're doing here, just playing around, it's going to work out just fine, right? And we can be as picky as we want here, or we don't have to be picky at all. It's completely up to us and what we're doing at any particular time. Yeah. I'm well, thank you. And I hope everyone else here is good too. I know this is a number of people that have shown up, so welcome, everyone. My stream's been pretty stable except for that one hiccup at the beginning, which is good, right? So, yeah. All right, what I want to do here, let's kind of break this up a bit. Oops, got the wrong tool selected. Yeah, like I said, we could play with this all day. We could do the whole thing inside of Illustrator, but that's not the point for what I'm doing today. I'm just cleaning this up after adjusting the typeface to try to make it just a bit more clean. Oops. And I think I'll align this part of the N here with more so with that right there, just to give it a little more consistency. Right on. Yeah, so feel free to post in the chat if you want to chat. That's one of the nice things about doing these streams, is that they are live. They are a sort of community thing, right? And it's nice to be able to see how people are doing. So I'm going to give each of these that are hanging a nice edge. And this one, maybe I'll reverse it, so they're kind of going down like that. Almost looks like, yeah, well, that's pretty cool. Okay. I think the last thing I'll do, let's just dip this F and the O a little bit. We might be getting a little too stylistic here, over stylized with the logo, but that's okay. Right on. All right, so let's see here. I'm actually going to edit my artboard to make it roughly the size of the logo. We don't need like a lot of this extra space here, and then we're going to be done with Illustrator. We can move on to InDesign and do some more work with our friend Photoshop. All right, exit the artboard. There we go. That's pretty good. And you know what? I can actually completely remove this extra layer. Nobody wants that extra layer. Make sure to save that. And yeah, so there we go. We've almost got like 3 projects in one today, because I'm doing like some, you know, titling design, some stylized titling inside of Illustrator here. And we're going to be doing some compositing and photo-based stuff inside of Photoshop, and then we're going to do our layout in InDesign. So let's see, Photoshop. Let's go back here. All right, so that's pretty good, but as I mentioned, we've got this additional texture that I want to incorporate into this item here. So let's do a Command or Control T to bring up our transform handles. Oops. And I did it on the wrong object. I need this layer 2 here. There we are. And I still am not used to the new transform constraints with Photoshop. I'm still hitting shift when I do that, because I've got a couple of computers that I work on, right? And I have Photoshop on, and this one's set up just as the default Photoshop behavior, where you don't have to hold shift to constrain, right? But on my other MacBook, I've got it set up, and I think I probably did this when you know, when they first introduced that new feature. I've got it set up where you do still have to hold down shift to constrain the aspect ratio. So yeah, it is something to keep in mind as I work, for sure. All right, so I just want to put some texture over here, and I just want to make it look a little rough, right? Because right now, like if we look at just the image, it's very soft. I want it to look kind of rough, and that's why I'm using this texture. And there it goes again. Now it's starting to drop again. So hopefully the connection's good on your end. But it just dipped. It's so strange. And now it's back up, it seems. Not cool. Yeah, I wish I knew if this was a Behance issue or something other, if it's got to do with my connection or what. So I'm going to try some things next time. I'll try to, I don't know, try a different Ethernet cable or something. Anyhow, so here we are, once again, inside of Photoshop. And what I'm going to do, actually, I mean, soft light looks pretty good. I just want to add a little bit of texture to this. But I don't want to lose some of the qualities that this already has, because I think it looks pretty good. So something like that, where we've got this texture, but it's still photographic. So here's with the texture, and here is without the texture, right? Right on. All right, so I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna save. And let's pop over to our buddy InDesign. There we go. So we're back in InDesign. We're back in the modified template. And as you can see here, we've got a bunch of different guides and things. That's why a template is really nice to use for something like this. Is you've got the ability to have these different guides and markers and so forth. So as you can see up here, we've got these template guides, which are the guides. I've put these up top actually because I like to have them over my artwork as I'm working. And then I've got a layer for the artwork. We've got our registration markers here, and then just our, you know, just the text information about what all this stuff means. So if we go in here, we can see in the legend, and yeah, this is from Disc Makers, as I said before. It was earlier in this stream. There's a lot more people on here now. What we got, actually, yeah. So what we've got here, we have markers for our bleed, our trim line, safety, and the fold. So basically what we want to do is have our artwork extend at least to this blue mark. That's going to make sure that when this is cut, right after it's printed, they cut it all and assemble the booklet. And this is going to make sure that, you know, if it gets cut, now it's supposed to be cut right here at trim line. But, you know, there's wiggle room there. It's an imperfect thing that happens. So because of that, we want to add for some extra artwork here, some extra bleed. This is standard practice with anything that you print, right? So here we go, front cover. This is where my album art is going to go. And if we were doing just a sheer digital release for this album, we would only really need to do the front cover, and you could just stay inside of Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever and just bang it out in there. But this project, for my students anyway, is going to be, you know, the whole point of it is for them to work on a project where they use all three of these applications together. So InDesign alongside of Illustrator and Photoshop. Because sometimes people are reluctant to do these sort of workflows, especially when they're new to design software, because they just get comfortable with something like, you know, maybe somebody worked with InDesign in a high school yearbook, or, you know, has done stuff with Photoshop and photography before, something like that. They tend to stick to that. And honestly, like for the longest time, you know, I was most familiar with Photoshop because I have a photography background. So I was most used to Photoshop. I found Illustrator really cumbersome. InDesign I could care less for. And for years, I was doing really just like any kind of design work like this inside of Photoshop, where, you know, obviously I should have been using other things. All right, let's see here. InDesign though, actually, so probably about 10 years ago, was it 10 years ago now? I think it probably was. This was back when Flash Player and Flash content and everything like that was really, really big. There was a huge active community around this stuff, right? And what I would do, what we would do is we would, use things like Twitter and everything to share resources and so forth. And I found that a lot of people who were heavy into, the programming side of the Flash platform actually were into, composing and recording music as well. So one of the things that I did is I started this project called Emergent Collective. It's a series of community compilation CDs. So we have Emergent Collective 1, Emergent Collective 2, and finally we had Emergent Collective 3. But that was really fun. And the booklet, I always liked designing the booklet, and I always did use InDesign for that. And then you can output it as a PDF and share it with the entire community. But yeah, we should play Emergent Collective 1 during one of these streams one day as a background music. Sometimes I put background music on these streams, sometimes I don't. Today I don't have anything. All right, so let's go ahead and place. So we'll go File, Place, and now we need to find our item here. So here's the Photoshop document that we just created. It's still open in Photoshop, but that's okay. I'm gonna hit Open. And then we get the Photoshop document loaded into our cursor to place. And again, what I want to do, now this is the trim right here, but I want to make sure that we actually go, all the way up to this blue line, or pretty close to it, because that's the bleed line. So this is going to come in a bit larger than is necessary. So you want to account for this, of course, inside of your Photoshop document, or whatever document you're using when you bring this in. You want to account for that sort of thing. But that looks good. So there we go. There it is. It's placed in there. If we look in our properties, it's a linked file. So that means that anytime we go back to Photoshop and make any sort of edits to Photoshop, like maybe I want to just lift this well up a little bit. Once I save this and I go back to InDesign, InDesign is able to update this. So you can see it's a linked file here. If I go down to my quick actions with it selected, we can update that file. And there we go. Now we've got we've got that going on there now. I'm not sure if I quite did that. Oh yeah, I guess it did. Okay. I think I moved the wrong item when I went in there. I moved up the texture instead of the actual. There we go. Yeah. I moved the texture. So let's go ahead and, there we go. Move that well up a little bit, then save again. And yeah, this is the workflow, right? So you can go back and forth doing this sort of thing. Man, yeah, every once in a while I just get a drop in my stream here. It's really weird. Let's go ahead and do that again. I'm going to update the file. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So we can see now, using these guides, this is placed really nicely against the trim line, right? And we've got the bleed just in case. We don't have to worry about it too much. So I also want to bring in stuff from my back cover here. So for that, I'm actually going to bring in the sort of pure version of this. So File, I'm going to place once again. And here, instead of my Photoshop document, I'm actually going to bring in, not that, but this guy right here, just the raw Adobe stock photo. And I'm going to use this area here, bring that in for the back of the cover. Oops, I had that selected, so it by default it's going to think I want to place it there, which I don't. So undoing fixes that. And And there we have that. Now, obviously, I don't want to keep it like this. So this is where, of course, we go into our layers and we say, I want to move that layer down below there. And there we go. Pretty good. So something else we could do, of course, we could change our frame here. By default, when you place something in InDesign, you know, it places it congruent with the frame dimensions. So I can actually go in here and just adjust my frame. Like this. And in that case, there we go. Now, if you remember, this dotted line represents the fold for my my background here. So I'm going to make sure to get that right in the center. And there we have that. Now, I want to make this a little darker. There's a couple ways to do that. You know, we could change the opacity or whatnot. I'm actually going to just create a rectangle on top of it. Oops. You got to be careful in InDesign, because if you have anything selected and then you go goofing with stuff, it goofs you back. It tries to apply it to the thing that you've selected. So you could either, of course, go through and lock down anything, right, that you don't want to goof up. Or you can just like make sure things aren't selected when you go through and do stuff like that. Reverse that. There we are. All right, so now I've got that fellow there, rectangle. Rectangle is his name. And we can go through and you know, just change the opacity of this so that it appears kind of darker. And we could put some effects on our little JPEG here too. Like maybe we want to, I don't know, basic feather. Nah, I don't know. No, I don't want to do that. We could do like an inner glow or something instead and just like make it, give it like a vignette, right? But I think I'm going to just save it like it is. It's good. All right, so let's go ahead and lock all that down too. Then we know we're not going to goof it up, right? So this is coming out pretty nice. I want to focus now on my actual cover piece here. And what I want to do is bring in that Illustrator document. So popping back over to Illustrator, let's make sure this is saved. Yes, it is. So InDesign. And we're going to do another file place. So file, place. And here I'm going to choose artistname.ai. This is our Illustrator file that we just looked at inside of Illustrator. And yeah, let's place it. So anybody who's just joined, let me know in the chat how you're doing, what you're working on, stuff like that, or just say hi. All those things are valid. All right, so I'm going to pull this. I'm going to place it so that its right side aligns with the left side of the well. Just like that. And just use my arrow keys to tweak it a little bit. Pretty good. Well, it's... let's pull it down a bit. Sometimes it helps to really like zoom out to eyeball this stuff a bit better. Change that, change the frame fitting. And let's actually pop open the opacity here. So when you pop open the opacity, and really any of these things that are underlined here, you can open up separately. It works very similar to other Adobe applications, of course. So here we could change the, the opacity with this slider here, just like we could do elsewhere to make it blend in a little better. But we could also go through and apply some blend modes to it. So if I wanted, I could go and, well, that's a bit too much there. I don't know. Soft light. No. I always like playing with blend modes, but it's always tricky. So you see here, we've got the multiply blend mode on, and if I take this down a bit, of course, we are getting the opacity change. So I'm thinking like 80% with just that multiply blend mode is actually going to work out pretty good for our cover here. Hey, oh gosh, I'm going to butcher your name. It's like so similar to Joseph, which is my name, of course. Joshu? I hope I did that right. Hello. Welcome to the stream. I always like to greet everyone, but I try. In terms of pronunciation, I'm admittedly not the best. So, yeah, let me know if I did it wrong and correct me. I'm always open to correction. And actually, something I've been trying to do lately is, kind of be more, I don't know, transparent and like intentionally kind of like humble myself a bit around different things. So one thing that I've done is I've gone through and I've kind of stopped my my weblog that I've had open for quite a number of years now. Let me pull it up. So there's context to what I'm talking about here. Yeah. So this is my blog, In Flagrante Delicto. And as you can see here, I'm closing it down, right? So the funny thing is with this, and I did this yesterday, here's my very first post from February 2007. So it's been a while, and I mostly used it to write up around things again, going back to Flash platform and so forth. But lately it's just become a way for me to catalog different things that I'm up to, different publications and things, and I just don't want to do it anymore. Basically. But yeah, so I've taken a lot of my posts, most of the posts. There were 700 plus posts on there. And everything except for the last month or so I've actually made private. So that content hasn't been eradicated, but it's not really available anymore, which I don't know. We'll see what happens. Oh, the same as Josh. Well, great. Thank you for that. Josh. Okay. Cool. Well, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good day. Yeah, so so this thing, when I was trying to come up with, I had the concept for this project, but pulling this all together, you want to make everything relate, the artwork, the name, the textual content, and everything, which actually, if I go back to my notes here, I do have a name for the album itself, which we're going to bring in. And ooh, if we open this up, so we're gonna make this in the Professor font, which I think is a hilarious name. Professor. So I'm gonna use my type tool again. Oh, I haven't used my type tool yet, actually. Not good. All right, let's actually lock down our Illustrator layer there and bring in. There we go. July has gone. Which, what? I don't know. It's just a bunch of stuff I came up with. So it doesn't mean anything. Let's go in and find Professor. Yeah, it's always good to like prep stuff like this beforehand, but you could certainly like do it as you're going through here too, you know? So like, you know, if I didn't have this stuff already established, you know, you can just jump from here to there to everywhere and locate these things. So I'm not seeing anything called Professor here, which is really strange. Here we go. Strangely enough, it's under P. How weird. All right, July has gone. Boom. Done. All right, so I don't want this to be as large as my the title up here, the name rather. I'm not sure how I should align this. Maybe I'll just align it to this right there. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's take down our opacity here. I'm just gonna use the slider just to blend it in a little better. And we'll kind of align that bottom to the bottom of the well. I think that is gonna look pretty good. Right on. All right, so at this point, we have our elements from Photoshop, we have our Illustrator elements, and we also have text that was created just right here inside of InDesign, right? Let's go ahead and just copy these two elements from the front of the booklet, and we'll place them on the back of the booklet and do like a different treatment of them. I think that's going to work out pretty good. And you'll notice one thing here. And if I was creating an entire booklet in InDesign, like a booklet with like each page for a different track, or you know, in terms of like a compilation, you know, information about the different artists that are involved or something. I would definitely go through and create different paragraph styles for these different things, but you know, just using what I've got right here, I don't think it's really quite necessary to go through those steps. While it is beneficial, I am gonna go ahead and just kind of go for do it a little more, just copy paste, right? The elements themselves. All right, so let's see. I need artist name right here, and the album name. Let's copy that, paste it, and just move it over for now. And lock down both of those. We'll zoom in on here. And we'll make some changes to this stuff. So I want to make on the back of the booklet, let's make the artist name really big. There we go. And we'll center it. Maybe drop it down towards the center area here. And then the same thing here. I'm going to align this to the center and then actually center the object. Yeah, so this is the back of the booklet, right? So yeah, the front of the booklet, this is the album cover, the album artwork. And then, so this is what would show up right on Spotify, Apple Music, everything like that. And the only people who ever see this is if you have the actual physical booklet. So then if you're going through it, you look on the back, take it out of the CD tray, you'll be able to see this. And it's more just stylization. So, you know, side by side, they look a little weird, but, you know, if this was actually printed out in a booklet, it would look pretty good. So I want to go through and do some, I want to make this lighter. And that's not really working. Oh, no, don't do that, Joseph. All right, well, that's okay. Maybe I'll make it just a little less opaque. Oh yeah, this is good. So again, whereas the album cover is more informational, presentational, right? The back of the booklet is meant to be much more decorative than anything else. Right on. So, well, shoot, are we done? That didn't take as long as I thought it would. Here, I'm going to do a Shift W. So this is how it actually looks, right? And yeah, it's pretty cool. If anybody, you know what? I actually kind of hate this right here in the logo. The T and the U. So let's fix that. Like, I made it the way I did because I wanted to keep it. Oops. Stop. I wanted to keep it what am I thinking here? Gosh, I don't know what I did to this thing. Oh, very weird. I lost my train of thought completely. It looks kind of junky. Ugh. Yeah. Maybe I should have kept the T like it was, huh? Just gotta fix these handles, and I think it'll be set. All right, that's better. It's not perfect, but it's better. That looks weird, though. What is this junk? Look at this garbage that happened here. Oh well. There we go. Let's go back to InDesign. Let's update this. So I'm going to select it, update file, boom. Same thing here. All right, it's better. It's not as weird. But of course, you know, you'd assume that, you know, if somebody's gotten so far as they're producing, they're designing album artwork, that they've got their logo sorted out way before this, right? pretty good. Let's have a look again. You know what we can do too? Let's actually just make those invisible. Oopsie-doo. I've got other ideas now. Let's actually unlock that. And I just want to duplicate this a couple times. And just kind of make some, again, like more decorative kind of little bits and pieces here. And what I'm going to do is make these like really tiny, or tiny when we talk about opacity here, right? Tiny values. So it's barely visible in both of these instances. I don't know. What does everyone think about that? Pretty good? Now, I can't remember. Does InDesign... I remember these apps used to all have like direct ways to publish stuff to Behance. But for whatever reason, I guess they kind of removed a lot of that information. Which is fine. Oopsie. Yeah. It's okay. What I'm going to do is just publish this as a PDF. So let's go to File and publish, export, PDF, presets, high quality print. Perfect. We'll put it right in the same place. Save. I'm just going to bring up our export Adobe PDF settings here, which is always a little weird, just because it's like all this stuff that like a lot of people don't really care about, right? So I just always keep it as the defaults and I hit export. That's okay. So the overset text that it's talking about are these decorative little pieces of text here where I intentionally overset. So overset inside of InDesign, in case you don't know, is when the text frame isn't large enough to contain all of the text content within it. But that's okay, because I want it like that. So I'm going to hit OK. That's fine. It's nice that it warns us, but you know. And Yeah. Look at that. There's my PDF. Looks so good. Yay. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to upload that to Behance later. I always like to, include the stuff that I produce in these streams on my Behance for continuity, for reference, whatever else, right? Well, cool. I hope everybody who has been on the stream here has enjoyed this little cross application workflow exercise in designing some album art, both the front cover and the back cover of a little booklet intended for jewel case and so forth. Hey, not sure what happened there. Oh, look at that. In place. Very weird. All right, cool. All right, well, everyone, thanks for joining, and yeah, we made some good stuff today. I'm happy with this. If I look at my schedule here, so I do keep my streaming schedule on my Behance. Yeah, Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Pacific is when I go live, at least right now. And I try to keep this schedule up to date as well. But things change, of course. You can see I've got some stuff in July, late July coming up. There's the Adobe Education Summit, which, yeah, so I'll be involved in that, so I won't be streaming that day. And there's a event, How to Teach, and that's actually the URL to get there. I'm teaching a 2-day workshop on using Adobe Animate. So because of that, again, I'm not going to be doing the stream. And I've got some appointments this week and next. If this changes, I'll update this. I may be slightly unable or unwilling to stream in a little bit, depending upon how things go. So we'll see. I'm planning on being here next week for, as you saw there, doing some stuff with green screen. So some switching it up, doing some video stuff. I haven't done that in a while. So yeah. Otherwise, I hope everyone has a nice rest of your week, nice rest of your day, and yeah, potentially see you all next week. Thanks again, and goodbye.